Hey everyone, this is Sandra. Welcome back to my channel once again. Today I wanted to do a video on foundation, but then I got to thinking, um, foundation routine is more than just about foundation. It's actually about skincare prior to makeup. It's about the tools you use. It's about the type of primer that you use underneath the foundation and any mixing mediums, and then of course the foundation itself. So I wanted to make this a very short video. There are people out there who you may have questions about foundation, or like what foundation is good for my skin type. And usually the tools that companies give you nowadays, it's really easy to kind of figure out what's best for your skin type. But we'll talk about a little bit of everything, and I'll try to keep it as short as I can. So first of all, I want to tell you that the first thing you want to do is make sure your skin is prepped and primed. So by that I mean foundation will apply better and look more natural and just have an overall better appearance if you've got smooth skin. So first of all, exfoliation is key. So if you have dry skin especially, exfoliation is absolutely necessary. I have dry skin, especially during the winter months, and I'm exfoliating my face 2 to 3 times a week, if not more. And I wouldn't do it every day because you don't want to scratch your skin, and I would pick a very gentle exfoliant. I wouldn't get one that has like walnut pieces in it. I have one like that now and it's way too rough, so just be careful of which one you buy. And I'm not sure about expensive exfoliators, but as far as drugstore brands go, I know St. Ives has some really good ones, so you should check those out. The next thing is moisturizer. With moisturizers, it kind of depends on your skin type. Myself, in winter, I really like a thick, heavy overnight mask, and then during the day, I'll wear something a little bit thinner, but still pretty heavy duty. And in summer, because my skin is more oily in summer, I would use something like a gel formula and then still do an overnight mask. So it just kind of depends on your skin type. So, and I'm not even going to get into the whole SPF thing. SPF is very important. In the past, I have not used it on my skin, and I wish I had. So now I'm being very careful, and I'm being extra just on my skincare alone. So yes, please moisturize your skin, and it will help to maintain a really nice soft surface. Wow. Soft surface for your foundation and primer application. So the next thing I want to talk to you is about primers. So there are a variety of primers on the market, and I've got a couple, and a lot of them are sample sizes, but I'm going to show you just some examples of what you can use for drugstore and for higher end types of primer. And again, I've said this before in videos where it doesn't really matter what kind of primer you have, as long as you have something underneath the foundation as a barrier between your skin and the foundation itself. And I mean, people still put foundation on their skin without primer. It just may not apply as nice. It may be a little bit more streaky looking. It may not last as long, but that choice is also up to you. So the primers that I'll talk about first, we'll do drugstore primers. So there are different types of primers, and I guess there are pretty much 3 main groups that I'm aware of, but again, people watching or people in the beauty industry may know of more different types that you can get. So the first type are ones that fill in your pores. So some drugstore examples I have are this Milani Prime and Correct face primer. So this one's for light to medium skin, and it diffuses discoloration and minimizes pores. And this is nice. It kind of has an orange color, and it has silicone in it, so you can kind of feel the silicone when you rub it between your fingers, and you'll know what I'm talking about. And any pore minimizing primers, you want to press into your area where you're having the most problems. So for me, and for a lot of ladies and men, it can be right here on your cheeks, around your nose, right here on your chin, and on your forehead. But there are people who have more problematic skin types, so you may want to use it all over. It just pretty much is based on your individual skin type. So the next drugstore brand is this Maybelline Master Prime by Face Studio Primer. And this is, it says the shade 300, but it's green, so it reduces redness and it also blurs. So again, it has a little bit of silicone base to it, and it just helps reduce any redness you may have. So this is really good if you have rosacea. And another Maybelline product is this Baby Skin Instant Pore Eraser. This is nice too. I've only recently used this, probably since I've started filming, and this came out many, many years ago. So I really like it, but for all of these, for any primer really, a little goes a long way. So if you use too much, you'll notice that your foundation just kind of slips off your face. So I would always go in with a teensy tiny bit and then work your way up if you need more. So the last one is also by Maybelline, and this is called the Master Blur Stick by Face Studio, and it's 100 Universal Transparent, and it's kind of convenient for travel because all you do is roll up the stick and you just literally put it on your problem areas and then press the product into your pores. So that is nice too. And now, if we're talking about higher end products that minimize pores, I have got a couple to show you. So let's start with Tarte. And this is just a sample, so I'll show you the samples first because it makes a little bit more sense. So this one's Tarte. I've only used it once, but it's very silicone based. It's called the Clean Slate Timeless Smoothing Primer Base. So it's smoothing. So again, anything with silicone in it will fill in your pores and just have a really nice smooth surface for that foundation to stick to. Another one that I haven't tried yet is actually by Milk Makeup. And this says it's just a blur stick, so I'm assuming it's very similar to the Maybelline blur stick, but this one has a little bit of color, and it would probably also work. Again, I haven't tried it, so I can't tell you exactly how it works, but again, any primer that you can get your hands on is definitely worth it. Okay, another two little sample sizes. Well, we'll do this one first here. The Porefessional by Benefit. This is one of my favorites. I've got two favorites. It's this one and the Smashbox one, and I love it. And a little goes a long way, so this little tube, depending on how often I use it, will go a very long way. So, highly recommend. It's also like skin tone color, and it just presses into the pores, and it works great. So another two that I have are the Smashbox Photo Finish Minimizing Pores. This one is the original, and this one is the purple tube, but honestly I don't really notice a difference other than this has a little bit of color to it and this is clear. So they're both silicone based. I tend to reach for this one more just because I do, and I have a backup of this, and I love this stuff just as much as the Benefit Porefessional. Another one that I have that has the same effect, the pore filling effect, is this Too Faced Primed and Poreless Skin Smoothing Face Primer. I really enjoy this too, and I feel like it is very similar to the Smashbox and Porefessional. Again, I just don't reach for this one as much. So that covers all of the pore filling, skin smoothing primers that I have. And the next kind of group that I'd like to move on to is the moisturizing primers. So of course, I'm all into that one because I have very dry skin. But someone who has oilier skin might want to reach for the pore minimizing because it'll block the oil from coming out of your pores. Someone who has problematic skin, who has a lot of problems with acne, then might want to stay away from the pore blocking ones because your pores might fill up faster and just have more problems in the end. So that is strictly based again on your skin type. So these ones here, I've got Tarte and Too Faced. Those unfortunately are the only ones I have. I don't have any from the drugstore. Is this Tarte Quench tiny little sample. It's Rainforest of the Sea, and I've used it once and I really like it. Sometimes I find that the moisturizing primers are a little bit sticky or a little bit tacky, and I find that helps to make my makeup stay on longer and better, if that makes any sense. This other one is, of course, the Too Faced Hangover RX Replenishing Face Primer. This is, I think, the very first one I got that I purchased on my own, and I've heard some mixed reviews about it. I like it, but I'm not sure if I'll repurchase after I'm done. I actually bought it with the spray, and I really like the spray, so but I think what personally I would like to do is just try different primers that are on the market. So I may not repurchase it right away, but in the end I might go back to it and say, hey, I missed that one, and I'll buy it again. A new one that I just got that I love is this Tarte Base Tape Hydrating Primer. It's very, very light, so I bought it for summer because it is so nice. It has a very light coconut scent, and I love it. I've only used it a handful of times, and I already love it. So the third group of primers that I would like to show you are more of pretty much an additive. You can use them as an additive to your foundation, or you can put them on underneath your foundation, but they are like a glow primer product. So the first one that I ever purchased was this Becca Backlight Filter. I love this, and it has a very nice light scent. And it doesn't have sparkles in it per se. It's just very, kind of gives you that glow from within, and it's very nice. Very nice. Another one that I have, and I'd have to say the rest of these are very, like, fairly new. This is a Magic Lumi, so this is, again, drugstore, and it's just a light infusing primer. So if you want that glow, and I know for myself, if you have like tired looking skin or dry skin, sometimes it's very nice to have this because it's almost like the ones that have like a little bit of glow to them almost hydrate in a way, but I'm not sure if that's true. It just feels like it because you're kind of shiny. So but I like this one, but again, I've only used it a little bit. I did just recently buy it not that long ago, and I think it retailed for $14.99, so it's pretty affordable. Another product that I got actually close to the same time were these True Match Lumi Glow Amore Glow Boosting Drops. This isn't really a primer per se, it is an additive that you would add to your foundation or to your moisturizer if you're going with no foundation. And it just, again, gives you a little bit of radiance. And I've used this a few times and I like it. But I also have the Tarte Rainforest of the Sea Radiance Drops, and it's very similar. That one has a different shade. I'm not sure if it's white or it has like a different skin color shade. This is a little bit pink, so I probably wouldn't repurchase a pink one for my skin tone, but for someone who's very, very fair, this would be really nice. And another additive that you would add either under your foundation or to your foundation is this MAC Strobe Cream. This is a tiny sample, and I'm not sure what shade this is, but I know you can actually get them in gold, which I would love personally, and it also gives a really nice gleam to your skin. Then the last one I'd like to show you is this Too Faced Do You Fresh Glow Luminous Face Primer. This is the one that has a mouthful. So this is probably my most recent purchase, and when I first did my review on my channel, I said I really like the primer, and I do because the foundation kind of hides sparkle, but I'd honestly have to say this one has more sparkle than, let's say, the Becca Backlight Primer. So if this is something that you're not into, I would not recommend it, but I don't mind this. For summer, it's really pretty. And it smells good. It smells like cucumber melon. Okay, so we've covered primer. So for now, we're actually going to put primer on our face. And there are a couple of ways you can do it. I'm actually going to pick... Oh, and one other thing I'd like to mention is that you can actually double prime. I don't know about putting on like 3 types of primer because it might get a little much. But usually what I would do is I'd take a Pore filling primer, and this is all the amount that I'm going to use right there, and I'm using the Too Faced Primed and Poreless. And I usually take this stuff between my fingers, I rub it on my fingers to kind of spread it out, and then I gently wipe it on the areas that I want the coverage. And like I said, a little goes a very long way. And I also have like acne, well, not acne scars, but well, I do have some acne scars on my nose, but I have chickenpox scars, and unfortunately this stuff isn't that good to cover those. But it does kind of give your skin a nice smooth finish, and the base that it provides allows the foundation to stick really, really nicely. Okay, so then the other one I might try is the Do You, and I'll just take a couple of pumps. So there's two ways you can put this on your face. You can do what I've done, put it on your fingers and just kind of smooth it all over. And this is actually the first time I've used it with my fingers. Usually I enjoy using my Real Techniques sponge to apply because it has water already in the sponge. Remember, you have to have a damp sponge to use it. And when you apply the foundation, when you apply the primer, it just kind of gives you an added glow. And you can already see, I'm not sure how well you can see in the camera, but my skin has a radiance. So on my hands, you can see that glow. That's what that primer does. And the backup backlight primer doesn't have quite that effect. It's similar, but on a lower scale. And if I look really closely at my skin, I guess I can't really see direct sparkle on my skin, and it would depend how much you use and how well you spread it out. So it does just give me that little glow, that little radiance, so it's not too bad. And I really enjoy, because that one already has, I got the Radiant Nude shade, so it is skin toned. I like adding this to my foundation. Okay, so let's talk about foundations. So starting off, there's a whole bunch of ways, well, not a whole bunch of ways. There are different ways you can apply foundation. But before we talk about application and the tools to use to apply them, are the different types. So I wish I had a BB cream here. I used to. I had a BB cream, and I also had a CC cream. And the BB cream is basically a very light foundation. It's meant to, most of them have SPF in them. It's meant to quickly put on your face, use it kind of like a moisturizer, and then run outside and do what you need to do. I used to have one that actually would change to my skin tone, and it still kind of had a rosy undertone, and I'm not sure why, because I'm very olive toned. So if I'm going to wear a light foundation, it'll probably be more of a glow foundation rather than like a BB cream or a CC cream even, because I found like the BB creams that I found, there wasn't a huge range. And maybe that's different for like the higher end BB creams. I haven't actually checked those out. But as far as drugstore are concerned, and I'm talking like L'Oreal, Maybelline, even CoverGirl, the shade selection isn't as good as if you were to get a higher end product. Again, it does depend on every company, because there are still some companies that don't have huge like shade selections, but I think now that we're getting further ahead, I think people are using that as a selling mechanism. So there you go. But if I start with BB creams and CC creams, there are other foundations, and sometimes it gets kind of tricky because, for instance, I'm going to show you this L'Oreal 24-Hour Infallible foundation. So this is a Pro Glow, and the formula, and I think I've said this before, generally when there's a formula that's very, very runny in consistency, it's going to be able to spread out more on your skin and then become more semi-transparent. So the thinner consistency, the less coverage in general. This one says it's 24-hour, so that just means it's not supposed to budge once it's dried. But I would have to say that this probably has the least coverage of all of my foundations. And then the ones that have a little bit of a thicker than that one anyhow. Let me find them here for you. Okay, there's this one here. So this is a Maybelline Fit Me product. This is the Hydrate and Smooth. So again, I have dry skin. I know there was a different formula for oily skin, And I don't know how the oily skin formula would apply to my skin. I have not tried it, so I cannot speak on that. But this one, again, the consistency is very, very thin. And I don't love this bottle only because it doesn't have a pump. You pretty much pour it onto the sponge or into your hand or whatever you're doing. So I don't love that about this product. And that's Maybelline. But this L'Oreal Infallible, it also is fairly thin. So when you shake the bottle, you can actually hear it running around in there. But I really like this because it does have the pump. This one's still pretty thin, and it is fresh wear. So I'd have to say, and correct me if I'm wrong for those people who also love makeup and know a lot about their products, but anything that is fairly thin, that says the word glow on it, or even fresh wear, anything that gives your skin that little added glow, that still feels tacky after you've applied it, something like that is not going to be as full coverage as a much thicker foundation. So moving on, so there are different, like it's not just cut and dry, so there are ones that kind of are a medium range as well. And so this next foundation, I haven't had as much of an opportunity to try it, but it is the Tarte Found Concealer. So this shade is very dark, so this is why I haven't tried it yet, because I'm waiting for summer to really get into this one. And it's kind of a mystery to me because I've been reading reviews and some people say it's really, really good for oily skin, it's really, really good for dry skin. And generally, when you get a foundation for dry skin, it's got that glow to it or that moisture, a little bit of a runnier consistency. So if I put this on my hand, it does have a little bit of a runnier consistency, but not as bad as those other ones I've showed you. Oh, that is dark. But I'd have to say it looks medium coverage when you first apply it. But I think, and see, it did dry down quite quickly, but it still has a little bit of a sheen to it. So I'd say definitely that this is a middleman because it doesn't even have that much of a scent, which is nice. I think I mixed that one with a very liquidy foundation and I liked the way it applied. And I can't wait till summer arrives because then I can actually try it and it'll be really, really nice. So moving along, another one that I guess it's kind of similar. I'm not going to say it's the same, but similar. And actually that one has a wand, so that one isn't even a good example. Let's try the Tarte Face Tape. So now I can't give you the specifics at the moment because I don't have the website in front of me, but I put a pump of this on my hand as well, and it's just sitting there. It's not running down, so I'd have to say all of these foundations are similar consistency, so not similar coverage. I'm not saying that by any means. And then this is the Shape Tape foundation by Tarte. So this is the one that comes in the wand. And I kind of like the wand. So there is the Shape Tape. And so with the Shape Tape, I know it's already thicker because it has a wand. They wouldn't really be able to get away with that if it was really, really thin consistency. So this one I'm blending out here is the Face Tape, and it feels very full coverage, and it is. It's a full coverage foundation, but it's also one of those ones that has really hydrating effect. Like, that is my favorite so far. The Face Tape is my favorite foundation, and it's been really hard for me to find a favorite. This one is the hydrating, and so I can already tell that it's not as thick. It's blending out. So this is the one with the wand. It's blending out very, very easily, and it's much thinner texture once you blend it out. But the Face Tape is definitely full coverage. Like, it's just not drying down as fast. But that one is one of my favorites because it offers full coverage, but it's not too drying on my skin. So the last one I have to show you, whoop, hold on. I forgot my Born This Way, my Too Faced Born This Way. So I'm going to show it on this hand here. So if I put a pump of it here, this one is actually a little bit runnier than the Tarte products I was showing you. So you can see it running down my hand. And I'd have to say, because it does, like the whole motto of Born This Way is that it's supposed to look just like your skin. So very natural, very light, and it is very light. So it's much thinner like texture and consistency than either the Found Concealer or the Face Tape. I'd have to say it's very similar to the Shape Tape, even though the Shape Tape had a wand, but it's I really like that one actually. When I wear it, I really enjoy how it feels in my skin. So the last one I have to show you is, of course, the Fenty Beauty by Rihanna. And this one is probably, I don't want to say the most full coverage, because right now I have to say my Face Tape is my favorite. The difference between that one and this one is that this one dries super, super fast. And it is full coverage though. Like, that covers so well. And most foundations are buildable. So I would recommend starting with a teensy tiny bit. This one is meant to, you start from the middle of your face and you work your way out, because it does dry so quickly. And I have a tendency to just put the foundation all over my face first before I blend it out, but that one you can work with as you go. So you put a little bit on your tool, blend it out from your nose outward, and then gently blend into your hairline. And I think that's the way to apply it. But I think I learned the hard way, and it just dries really, really quickly. And then if you go in and you make a mistake or you rub your face too hard, you'll actually see like a big part of your makeup just kind of come right off. So you have to be really careful with that one. But I'd have to say it definitely is full coverage. And I'd also recommend, if you have oily skin and you have not tried the Fenty Beauty foundation, try it, because I think it's really good for oily skin. I remember when I went to Sephora to buy it, I was actually told by a rep there, like a beauty expert, that if I have dry skin, I probably shouldn't purchase it, and if I do, I should make sure my skin is very exfoliated and moisturized before I use it. So just a hint for you guys out there wondering if you should buy it or not. So now, the tools that you would use to apply said foundation. I know I've kind of mentioned a lot of products, and I wasn't going to do that, but I figured I wanted to just give you guys a little bit of kind of an explanation as to like the different types, and I didn't even really want to mention primers, but I think priming is so important before your foundation that I really had to mention it. So anyhow, the 3 different ways that I would apply foundation, first of all, is with a brush. So this is the fastest method. And I think some people say it leaves streaks on your face, but I think it depends how much you apply. So if you start with a tiny bit and then you blend it out and then you add a little bit more and keep blending, it actually looks flawless. It looks very airbrushed. I've got 3 different brushes. So this one, of course, these brushes are Sigma. This is the round kabuki F82, and I really like it. I honestly don't really notice a difference when I use this one or the F80, which is the flat kabuki brush. They're basically kind of the same size, so it's not really a matter of size. I think it just kind of depends what shape you like better. So I had both of them just to try them both out, and I like them the same. The one that really gets the job done fast for me is this short little kabuki brush here. This I got from a kit from Costco, and it says Beauty Professional. That's all it says. It's not even the Kirkland brand. And because it's so wide compared to those two, like that is huge. So literally and I find that these really work well for foundation that's a little bit thinner consistency. So I just buff it really, really quickly all over, and I have a very nice coat of foundation. And I've been told that brushes give you the most coverage. So I think, again, depends how you apply it, depends how much you put on, but you can really add product. So you put it on and then you just kind of blend it all over. I think if you use too much product, that's where you get, whoops, wow, I dropped it. That's where you get the streakiness, so you have to be careful there. And I think a lot of times people say a little goes a long way, and it is true. The more I notice, the more I apply, I start getting, it settles in my forehead creases, and it's not pretty, and I have to buff it out with my sponge after, so just beware of that. Like, I'd start small and get a little bit bigger, a little bit more, a little bit more. So the second way is just using your hands, using your fingers. I personally don't like using my hands because I don't want to get tons of makeup on my skin. I hate the feel of it. I'm washing my hands like a million times a day, so it's not that my hands are dirty by any means. I just don't want it on my hands. I'd rather use some kind of tool. But I think that the heat from your fingers would really help to smooth out any foundation. And I think it would actually work really well with a BB cream or a CC cream because you can kind of treat it like a moisturizer. But that's pretty much how I would apply it, is just kind of smooth it all over your face and just really blend around your jaw, because with your fingers you don't know if you're getting that like a really nice blended look. So just be extra careful when you're blending. The last way, and sometimes I want to say my favorite way, but I mean, I really do like the brush method as well, but that would be with beauty blenders. So other beauty blenders, this is the Real Techniques by Sam and Nick, and they're called Miracle Complexion Sponges. I know in my description I just write Real Techniques, either beauty sponge or makeup sponge, but they're actually called Miracle Complexion Sponges. And what I like about these is that so you have your pointy side for your concealer, you've got your flat side for your foundation, but then you also have like an edge where you can really apply powder if you want to use this to apply powder. So I really like this. I've been using it ever since I started my channel, even before that. And honestly, I was never into beauty blenders when they first came out. I think they came out a couple years ago. Never ever tried one. I thought basically they were too small to really like blend all over my face. I have like a small one, and I feel like it's so small and it would take forever to blend all of my foundation out, but I think I would probably use that more for concealer work. But this one, I really, really like it. I probably should throw this one out by now because you don't want any bacteria buildup. I do wash mine. I wash them really, really well once a week, but then in the meantime, like just to get any other foundation out, this is just stained by the way because I did wash it, but I just use my hand soap and I just kind of squish it out with really warm water, and out comes the foundation and the concealer and hopefully the bacteria. So, but yeah, so, and then I think the last thing I want to say before I put my own foundation on is now with any of these foundations that I've showed you guys, you can really do whatever you want to them. So like I said, I'm just going to show you a couple here, like the additive primers. So this one I like to add to my foundation, and honestly, it doesn't even matter which foundation. I can add it to the really runny ones, the really thick ones, it doesn't matter. The same with the Magic Lumi by L'Oreal, and also the Glow Drops, and also the Radiance Drops by Tarte, and even actually the Becca Backlight Priming Filter. I like adding all of those to my foundation. So what I do is I put my foundation on the back of my hand, and I just maybe 1 or 2 pumps to start off, and then 1 or 2 pumps of the additive, and then I mix it with my finger, and then you can dot it all over your face. Sometimes I just add it directly to my sponge and then put it all over my face. So that being said, you can actually take a little bit of your foundation and you can also mix it with your moisturizer. to make your own BB cream. I've mentioned this before, I've done it in the past. I haven't really done it on my channel yet, but I can if you guys would like to see a video on that. And all it does is it changes the consistency, so it makes it more into a BB cream as opposed to a full concealer. If you're using a really full coverage foundation, generally that's kind of what you're looking for, whether it's, you know, to go on a date night, to go out to a party that you're going to be out for a lot of hours, and something like that will last longer. So if you wear like a BB cream, or if you wear something a little bit runnier, the consistency will start to break down after a couple of hours. Even I notice with my 24-Hour Pro Glow by L'Oreal, it breaks down quicker than the matte. And plus, again, with your skin, my drier skin, it won't break down as fast as if you have oily skin. So just be aware of that. I know that there are things out there like blotting papers for oily skin, and you can get powders that are really drying, so it'll help to hold in the oil. But for me, my problem is, and probably always will be, just needing to be hydrated all the time. So I'm huge into moisturizing. I'm huge into facial mists, and like MAC Fix Plus is nice. I use rose water. I use Mario Badescu facial spray. This one's cucumber and green tea and aloe. And I also have the rose water version. And I know there's a third version too, but these are really nice and really cheap. This is like 10 bucks at Sephora, so it's really, really nice, especially in summer, because maybe in summer you're not looking to have like a thick cream on your face. Something like that is perfect, especially when it's hot outside. In summer, I'd probably be more likely to add like cream to my foundation and apply it that way. It kind of depends on the coverage you're looking for, and for me specifically, I do have quite a bit of discoloration on my skin. I've got dark under eyes, so foundation with a higher coverage really helps me can cover up those imperfections. So it just really depends what kind of coverage you're looking for. But if you have any questions on this video, please let me know, and we're going to get into application on myself, and I'll show you. I'll do one side of my face with a brush, and I think I'm going to use my really wide kabuki brush. And then on the other side, I'm going to use my dampened beauty sponge. Okay, so I've decided to use the Born This Way by Too Faced. So I'm going to use the brush on this side of my face here. So I'm just going to, and always make sure to shake your foundations and your primers before you use them, just to mix them up. I'm going to put 2 pumps on my brush, and I just kind of spread it all over my face. And remember, this brush just spreads out the foundation so nice. And very, very quickly. So the problem is that, and I guess it's very similar to the makeup sponge, whether you're using a beauty blender or Real Techniques or something different, that whatever tool you're using will soak up a little bit of the product. So in my case, I used 2 pumps on this brush, and you can see what the brush looks like now. I've used 2 pumps, and usually for my entire face I'll use 2 pumps, but this brush just soaks up the product. So after initial application, like this is pretty much the initial application, just keep blending. It's like Dory in Finding Nemo. Just keep swimming, just keep blending, just keep blending. And it feels so nice on your skin. And I almost feel like using a brush, it's almost easier to blend into your hairline. Okay. So that is all done, and now you can just kind of see the change in my skin tone. So this makes my skin all one color, and this side just looks like my skin. My normal skin with spots. And I mean, you may be asking me, like, why don't you use concealer to cover up your spots? Sometimes I do. It depends usually what it is, but I like to kind of let them show through, only because I want it to be a natural, more natural look, even though I use a full coverage foundation. I'd rather honestly have my eye makeup or my lips do more of the work rather than just like worrying about covering up every imperfection, because I mean, nobody's perfect anyway, so I don't want to look like a plastic figurine. I want, you know, I want my wrinkles. I want my spots to kind of, okay, yeah, she's still real. Not that I wouldn't be real if I did decide to cover it up, but that's just how I feel, and I'm not overly concerned about my spots showing through. Like right here, I still have some sunspots that are peeking through, and that's okay with me. I'm not overly concerned about that. So next step, I'm going to use my dampened beauty sponge. So I'm going to put 2 on this side as well, just to make it even. And normally I could use put it on the back of my hand or on my finger and then dot it on first, and that might give you a higher coverage. So that's something you could do. And the other question that you might have is, what happens if I can't find my specific shade range in a foundation that I like? And that's actually something that I do myself. Not that I can't find a foundation in my skin rate tone, it's that when I transition between my summer and my winter colors, I have a hard time. I can't use my winter one because it's way too light unless I bronze the heck out of my face, and I can't use my summer one, which is way too dark. So I tend to mix the two, and in that case you can either get a little mixing plate, like I have like a little earring plate that you put your jewelry on after you're done with it. I can use something like that, or even a little bowl, or you can just use the back of your hand to mix it with your fingers. And that works too. And then it's just a matter of playing around. And let's say you found like a really good like shade range, like say you use 2 parts of one color to 1 part of another color, you could just kind of bottle it up if you wanted to, put it in another bottle and use it. But I generally, like, I don't know about sanitary conditions, so what I would say is just each time you do your makeup, just mix them on your hand before you go. So, but I mean, honestly, like I've seen Jaclyn Hill, I think I've seen her mix powders together to get that perfect formulation that she likes, and the same thing with foundation. So I wouldn't be too concerned, but okay. So that looks pretty blended out. So just a tip, even when it looks blended, I would just blend a little bit more. And so honestly, I'd have to say, and like I'd have to say, like, this sponge was probably, I probably could have squished a little bit more water out of it before I started. So I didn't put too much product on because my forehead is not creasing. I'm not getting any extra product in my creases, so that's good. This side looks a little bit more glowy. And number one, it's still probably not dry yet, so that could be why. But this side also, I used the brush, and this side was applied with a damp beauty sponge. So this side will be a little bit more, I don't want to say blended out, but a little bit more translucent because there was extra water in there. So it added a little bit more moisture. It blended out the foundation a little bit more, so it's more sheer, and this side is a little bit thicker. So that is the difference. So for me, I really enjoy using this because, again, my skin is dry, so I like it. But for somebody who has oily skin, you might want to stick to the brush or your fingers. Maybe not your fingers, because I haven't tried this, and maybe there's a lot of people out there who do use your fingers to blend your foundation in, but I just can't see it being even and having that perfect consistency. So if anyone does use their fingers, let me know and tell me if you love it. It's different for everybody, and even these products, they work different for everybody. Even if you have oily skin, Maybe you don't like the Fenty foundation. Maybe you prefer, you know, the Found Concealer by Tarte or even a drugstore brand. So I always say it's just kind of a matter of experimenting, playing around, and the one thing I want to mention is be very careful when you go to places like Walmart or Shoppers or drugstores or Rexall, for instance, because a lot of the times the seal on the package is broken and people have tampered with the product. I've had a couple like that from Walmart and I had to return them and I was kind of mad about it. So just watch for the little, like for instance, this one here, it'll just have like a little round, clear, sticky sticker that you will, well, in this case it was this one here, so if you see it broken, do not buy it. Even if it doesn't look like it's been tampered with, don't buy it, because once the product has been opened, it exposes it to bacteria and you don't know if anyone's touched it with their finger or on their face or whatever. So just be careful there. Generally at places like Sephora and you order online, they're never tampered with, and if they are, you can usually always send them back. So actually, just a quick story. I did go to Sephora once. I actually bought my Urban Decay Naked Heat palette and I opened it once I got back to my house and there was somebody's fingerprint on one of the shadows and I was outraged because I thought, that's why you guys have testers. Why is someone putting a fingerprint on one of the unopened boxes? So I returned it. They had no problem. I just exchanged it for a new one and everything was good to go. Just always check your makeup. And like online sellers, generally, maybe not Amazon, you have to check with them because makeup products can't be returned once they've been opened. But Sephora and I'm trying to think who else. Sephora for sure anyway has a really good return policy. So if something's been tampered with or you don't like a product, as long as you have not used it or if you've tried it once even, you can return it or exchange it. I wouldn't recommend doing that all the time though because it's going to show that you're just returning product. I mean, if there's seriously a product you hate, you're not going to use it, you're wasting that money on a good product, so, and that somebody else might really like. But anyway, here I am rambling. So I'm going to wrap this up for you guys. Honestly, either of these looks, I don't prefer really either one. This side I do when I'm in a hurry or if I'm looking for more full coverage. And at this point I could apply a second layer and it would be even more full coverage. Most of these foundations are rebuildable coverage, but for sure is the Fenty foundation because, so like right on the back of the bottle it does say soft matte longwear foundation and it says shake well. So again, reminder to shake all of your products before you use them just so all of the properties are there, everything's mixed up well. This one I noticed, like when I tried reapplying something on top of it after the fact, it just started to kind of cake off and it looked really, really weird. So I'm not sure if I would layer this one, but you shouldn't have to because it does have a really nice opaque shade. It's not really translucent at all. So anyhow, that wraps up this video. I'm sorry it was way longer than expected, but I just wanted to give you a few ideas of foundation to show you the different finishes, to show you what's out there. You know, go to your local Sephora, go talk to a beauty expert and say, like, this is what my skin type is, I think. What do you recommend? Okay, that concludes this video, you guys, because I could just go on and on rambling forever and ever. So until next time, we'll talk to you soon. Have a wonderful day.